Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much. What we're doing tonight is a focus group, which is a small group discussion. And I used to go on the road and go all over the country and do these. And now we do them by Zoom. And it's actually a great way to meet people from all over the country. Each of you represents 10,000 other women. So stand up for your 10,000 other women. And even if everyone else disagrees with you, I'll protect you. So let me know what your 10,000 women think. We are going to talk about a lot of different current events and actors today. We're going to move around with a lot of different things. And I apologize in advance if I cut some of you off. You'll see that one of my major jobs is just keeping us on time and watching the clock. We're going to write some things in the chat room. So thank you in advance. Don't worry about spelling. It's just your ideas that are really important to me. I'm less interested in the last news article you wrote or read or the last study that you read. I'm more interested in your gut reactions, your first impressions, and take risks because we're going to solve some problems tonight. And I want you to just throw some ideas out there, and nobody can be wrong in terms of their opinion. People who are quiet, I'm going to call on you. So make sure you talk up. And people who are talkative, you make my job really easy. But what I may do is say, let's have someone else talk first, or would you summarize that for me in one sentence just so we can keep moving along? And I apologize. I don't mean to be rude. We're going to go straight through for the 2 hours. So if you need to take a break, feel free to do that. But please come back just as fast as you can because the people that are observing these groups notice when I'm just talking to myself, and they don't like that. They want to know your opinions, not my opinions. We do have a number of people observing the focus groups. Everything you say is totally confidential. I and they do not know your last name, your address, or anything like that, but we're not talking about anything sensitive tonight anyway. You are being videoed just so I have a record, but you're not going to show up on Funniest Home Videos or anything like that, even though you have one of the cutest dogs I think I've seen in a long time. And it's great to have that participant in our focus group, Tina. I love that. So let's go around and introduce ourselves, and I'll start. And if you've always wanted to change your name, let me know. So I'm Celinda. You see what I do for a living. I'm originally from Montana. I live outside Washington, D.C. now, and I'd really like to get back west. I am single. I don't have any children, but I did create 2 pods during COVID, which got me through COVID. And when I'm not doing this, I like to read, I like to swim, I like to fish, I like to cook, and have friends over to dinner. So I'm really looking forward to getting back to that. So that's me. So I'll start in my camera order. Donna, tell me where you're at, what you do, what your family situation's like, whatever you'd like to share.
Okay, I am in Georgetown, Ohio, which is not too far outside of Columbus, Ohio.
Yep.
I have 2 grandkids, 2 boys, 1 and 5, 2 daughters. One just bought a house this weekend. One is getting ready to graduate with dual masters. And
wow.
yeah, believe me, it's been crazy with 2 boys and a house and all that, and graduating with school and all that. It's been crazy. I have 4 dogs. And I'm an animal lover, which that's a cute dog on her lap. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I have 3 Chihuahuas and an Italian Greyhound. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you,
and
Donna.
that's about it. Yeah.
That's great. Tina?
Yeah, I'm Tina. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I'm married, and of course I have 2 dogs, and I am a big animal lover. I love sports. I play soccer and golf, and I love to work out, and I love to travel when we can. And I love to cook and bake. I guess that's about it.
That's great. Thank you, Tina. Jenny?
Jenny. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I too am an animal lover. I just have one. I have a Jack Russell Terrier. I have
great dog.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun, but 3 walks and an hour and a half at the dog park every day.
Oh God.
And I have one daughter who lives in Philadelphia, who I haven't seen in over a year. And we were planning to go to Florida tomorrow, but because of the gas crisis, we canceled our trip. So that's my story.
Well, that's very rich. Thank you for sharing that. Betsy? And Betsy, I think you're on mute.
Okay, I live outside of Philadelphia. I work for Drexel University, but we've been home for over a year now, and I don't think we're ever going back. It's just going to be the way it is.
Wow.
But that's okay. They're still paying me, so that's a good thing. I have 3 adopted children from Korea, all grown and gone. And we just bought a beach house, and I love to go thrifting. The beach house is 1940s, so we're trying to decorate it and keep it themed up the way it was back then. Nice little cottage
How fun.
in Cape May. That's
Sounds
about
great.
it.
Thanks, Betsy.
You're welcome.
Regina? Oh, look at your dog.
Oh, yeah, this is Uso. So he's a little Shih Tzu, a little over a year. I got him right before the pandemic started. So he is a
Oh,
pandemic
that's great.
puppy.
Right.
I'm actually in Farmers Branch, Texas, and I just got married in March, and I have no children. I am an independent life insurance agent with my expertise being in Medicare. And with that, I do a lot of community events like food banks, Q&A questions, seminars, and that pretty much takes up a lot of my time.
Thank you, Regina. Janine? And you're on mute too.
Okay, there you go. Hi, my name is Janine, and I'm with my ex-husband. We're split apart for 23 years, and I'm in Florida now, in Clearwater. And we have our own business, and we're getting ready to go to the Bahamas to start a big resort on 3 islands. So
Wow.
gonna be busy soon, but since I'm not, I've been doing some of this and just trying to, get along until this ends or sometime if normal gets back.
That's great, Janine. Thank you. Trinity?
Good evening. My name is Trinity. I was born a military brat. I was born in Michigan, raised in Delaware. I currently live in Kansas City, Missouri. I am a customer service supervisor for True Green, the lawn care company. I have been with them for almost 10 years. I have a 16-year-old son and a 16-year-old bonus child. He kind of moved in with us 2 years ago and he's staying.
That's
I
great.
like to volunteer a lot of our time. We spend a lot of time at Ronald McDonald House, which is local to us. And with a couple other local charities with the Link Foundation and a couple other foundations with the school as well. So that's kind of not happened a lot this year. So I'm kind of missing that in my life and excited to get back out there.
That's great, Trinity. Thank you. Crystal?
Oh, hi. I am in Londonderry, New Hampshire. I'm self-employed. I do in-home daycare. I've done that for the last 15 years. And I do a lot of this. That's my side job. Yeah, it's been a kind of a year, but it's worked out for me. This is my fur baby over here.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah, she's a little poodle, but she's like tucked into her thing. She's 14 years old and apparently not going to stay up with me tonight. So that's all about me.
That's great, Crystal. Thank you. Melissa? Oh, Melissa, you're muted. Oh, you're muted. Oh. You're still muted. It goes off and then it goes right back on.
Melissa, if you move your mouse cursor.
Oh, am I better?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep, you're perfect.
Okay. I live in a suburb of Atlanta called Woodstock. Jenny, are you the one that's from Atlanta? Okay, I want to find out where gas is. I can't find any gas today. Anyways, I'm a nutrition manager at a high school, and here's my fur baby right here, little cat. And I have a daughter. She lives in South Carolina, and I'm single, and I work 2 jobs. I also am a driver's education instructor, And I love doing focus groups, so I'm excited.
Great. Well, thank you, Melissa. And Ashley.
Yeah, I'm Ashley. I am in Minnesota, actually a little way out of Minneapolis right now. I am a mom of 4, and I also have 4 cats. So I'm kind of the crazy cat lady here. They're all failed rescues where I said, oh, I'm going to bring them home and deflea them and then find them a good home, and I just couldn't do it. So I guess my heart might be a little bigger when it comes to animals and kids. So I'm currently staying home with the children, and they're still all distance learning. So it has been quite a long year for me. It feels like a decade. I enjoy reading when I do have time, and I like to swim also.
Great. Well, thank you all. You all have very, very busy lives, and it sounds like a lot of you are in transition. So thank you for taking the time to join us here tonight. I'm going to ask the next question, and I'm going to go around again, and then after that, we'll just all pop in and have a conversation. But fill in this blank for me. I feel blank about the way things are going in the country. Pick the very first idea that came into your mind. If other people have the same word, that's totally fine. You could say, my word's the same as Celinda's. So I feel blank about the way things are going in the country these days. Let me do it in a little different order. Let me do it in reverse order. Ashley, what's your word?
I guess worried would be my word. I'd like things to be normal, and I don't know when that'll happen.
Okay, and I'm going to come back and find out why you feel the way you do. Melissa, what's your word?
Hopeful.
Hopeful. Crystal?
Excited.
Excited. Trinity?
Neutral.
Neutral. Good word. Janine?
Kind of bewildered in a way.
And thanks for that honesty. Regina?
Irritated.
Excited?
Irritated.
Oh, irritated. Sorry. Betsy? Oops, you're on mute, Betsy.
Sorry, I feel good.
Good treat. Tina?
Mine's hopeful as well.
Hopeful. Jenny?
Concerned.
Concerned. And Donna?
Unsure.
Unsure. Thanks for that honesty. So we got a lot of different kinds of feelings. Let's start out with the hopeful, good, excited people. What are you feeling? What's going on for the good, hopeful, excited people? Anybody jump in and tell me what's going on for you?
This thing's getting back to normal. Having my son go back to school full time is going to be a game changer for me.
What else is going on for people?
I feel people aren't wearing masks as much. I kind of like that.
Okay, and why do you like that?
Normal.
Okay. And when you say normal, tell me what normal means for you. Other people, hopeful and excited, good. What else?
I say it's to be able to see the smiles on people's faces again.
Yeah.
Instead of with the eyes.
Yeah, I agree. Several of us were unsure and neutral. Why unsure and neutral? What are you debating? What's going on in your mind?
You just kind of don't know what's going to come of things and what's going to happen. And, everything's kind of up in the air. Like, when are things going to be back to normal? When are, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen with the economy, the gas, you're just kind of unsure about everything.
How many people are concerned about gas? I hear that.
Gas prices.
And gas
I'm
prices?
concerned just about finding gas. Well, I went to several places today and couldn't find any gas.
Wow.
Okay. Any
I went to
place
four
besides
places.
Atlanta?
Atlanta, yeah.
Any place besides Atlanta having gas problems, gas prices, or gas availability?
Availability, not
Atlanta is.
prices.
Wow.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Hey, I'm doing that focus group. I'll have to call you later.
Anybody else?
Hold on. Sorry.
Tell me, the people who are bewildered, irritated, concerned, worried, tell me what's going on for you. Bewildered, irritated, concerned, worried.
I'm just bewildered on all the difference and division and in the country. And it just has me bewildered on how it got here.
Thank you for that. What's an example of the division that you're bewildered about, or a division that exists in the country?
Just people, I don't know, I guess honestly, the people that are here in reality and the people that have joined an alternate reality as far as I.
Okay. And what's an issue where people have two different realities? What's an example of that?
It's hard to come together on anything.
I think people too are like, my personal opinion is that there's people that don't believe that the virus is real. They think it's made up. And then there's other, but then there's the science. And so when I think of what you said, that's what comes to mind for me or pops into my head, because I have a lot of people that say, oh, this is just made up. This is unreal. This is just political. And it's, they don't follow the science.
Okay. How many people are concerned about division in the country? All of us, or most of us. And how many are concerned about the two realities around the virus? And we're not going to get into that. People may have different views even on this call, but just concerned about that. So a couple of us, three of us. Okay. What are the other reasons for being worried, bewildered, irritated, and concerned? What are some other reasons for that?
I, grew up in South Minneapolis. So, we've definitely had a lot of struggle. I do feel worried. I'm not sure what's to come in the summer months. Last summer for us was just really hard. The other thing that worries me is, I do, wear my mask and I am careful and I get shamed really bad about it. So I worry about with our governor saying, July 1st, no more masks. It scares me because I have so many dependents, they really need me to stay healthy. So for me, it's just kind of worrisome, like what's to come in July when our governor says no one has to do it. Is everyone going to make fun of me if I do? Because I get it now, people tell me now, like, look at her with her mask. And it's like, dude, I don't mind what you do. Don't do that to me. It's hard.
And thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I can see that concern. Are there any other issues there or things that are going on in the country that are really on your mind, that are going well or not so well, that you haven't mentioned? Is there anything else going on that you haven't mentioned?
Here in Florida, our governor DeSantis, I think he's just gone to the funny farm somewhere. He's all of a sudden now, I guess in his own little show that he puts on, he just signed some papers and only had one, which is Fox News, come in and film him. None of the local, no local, but anywhere, just.
What did he sign? I'm not very familiar with what's going on in Florida.
It was for the voting rights. And so the pressing.
Oops, Janine, you muted yourself. Janine, you muted yourself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So you said that was the voting rights, and then we didn't hear the rest of what you had to say.
Yeah, the oppression and stuff on like the mail-in voting. He's not going to allow that, but he's kind of screwed himself there because a lot of the older people, older than me, 80s and stuff, they mail in. So he's kind of screwing himself, I think. But it's just crazy. It's just, and the mask thing's been bothering me because I wear it. I have both my shots. But I worry about giving it to someone else. I don't want to do that. So I wear my mask.
I love my governor here in New Hampshire, Governor Sununu. I think he's done a phenomenal job here. And we're now starting to lift, the mandates are lifted, so it's up to the individual stores. But since I do in-home daycare, I know that in the beginning, we didn't get anything, but yet we were responsible for all these children that needed care during this COVID event. And, eventually Biden gave us a $20 million credit here, and we were all lucky to get a part of that. And that was all due to the governor, and we wouldn't have survived without it. There's just no way. So,
and thank you for sharing that.
And his efforts.
Let me ask you something slightly different. What type of leadership do you want to see from the country's leaders? What kind of leadership do you want to see from the country's leaders? What do you want to see?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
Is it loaded? I don't mean it to be.
I think for coming around with Biden now, I think he's off to a great start in getting people back to work.
His infrastructure plan is that he has coming out to omit what's it called? Omit emissions and stuff. So I think he has a great plan coming out. I think he's a great president. So
Okay. We're going to talk about Biden in a minute, and I really want to hear all of those thoughts. But if we think just broadly about the kind of leaders that we want in the country, not about specific individuals, just across the board, what kind of leadership do we want? How would we describe it? What kind of leadership do we want?
I'd like to see someone that has goals, has a plan, has empathy mixed in with all this, cares about all that.
Goals,
Not just
plan,
says it.
empathy.
Yeah.
I think
What
open
else?
and honest, as long as you have that open, honest, I do think that thinking before you speak is really important. I'd like to see that with our leaders, having well thought out, articulate, not just saying the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. I haven't heard from Trinity and Jenny. Trinity and Jenny, what kind of leadership do you want?
I want someone who's compassionate. I want a leader that shares my same values, or at least is open-minded. Things change so much, so I want someone that's informed, not just with us as a country, but as a nation, because we all have to work together. I also want someone who's articulate, and when he speaks to people, he is representation of how I would speak. I don't know. I just want to feel like it's somebody I can also approach.
Great. Jenny, what kind of leaders are you looking for?
I want someone who is inclusive and who will work hard to bring this country back together. I want someone who is fiscally responsible. And I mean, that's my two biggest things.
Okay.
And has good morals.
Yeah.
And what's good morals? What are good morals?
I don't know. If you have to ask, you must know what good morals are. Just right from wrong, trustworthy. Somebody who, I don't know, just somebody who maybe doesn't use Twitter or isn't into social media as much. Someone like that,
Okay.
Acts
And by the
his
way,
age, maybe, act your age. That would be good.
And Betsy's raising a good point. Sometimes many times I will ask you what may seem like a really obvious question. And that's because I want to make sure I don't put words in your mouth. I want your opinion. So, Betsy, I'm so glad you said that. Yes, because I do have my own view of what good morals are, but I want to know what you think. So I apologize for probing in that way. I just want to alert you to that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually write in the chat, and then we're going to discuss what you wrote. So first thing, when you hear the term civility in politics, what comes to mind? So write for me, when you hear the word civility in politics, what comes to mind? Everybody able to access where they're supposed to be writing?
Yes, now I can.
Okay.
Go in there.
Should we be messaging you directly or to the group?
Where do I don't even see it?
What? Oh, message directly to me. Thank you. I didn't know the answer to that. So good question. I should have introduced earlier. I have Sandra here who's assisting me. So in case I run into any technological difficulties or have any questions, I'll know. So. Everybody written what does civility in politics mean to them?
It's harder than you
Regina.
Yes.
It's harder than you think, yeah. Regina,
Yeah.
what do you think? What's civility in politics mean to you?
To me, it means decency for all, for everybody. You have to
And what's
be.
decency?
You have to be a decent person. You have to take everybody, the young, the old, the women, the men, the U.S. citizens, the non-U.S. citizens, the people trying to come over here, people trying to get out of here, whatever it is that we are all here whether we're supposed to be here or not. Regardless of how we got here, we're all here. And if all we do is bicker and fuss while we're all here and trying to go against this one and that one, we never move forward. We have to have some kind of decency for everybody. And if it's not decent to put one person in some kind of situation or one group in a situation, it's still not decent for a different group.
Thank you.
It's
Donna,
about
what's you right?
about disagreeing without disrespecting.
And what is that difference? Can you disagree with someone and not be disrespectful?
I mean, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you can disagree with someone, but you don't have to be disrespectful in doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
There's
You
a
can't-
positive way to do it.
absolutely. And you cannot make someone believe the way you believe or think the way you think, and they're not a bad person or
Right.
they're not wrong because they don't think or do or act or behave or believe the way you believe. You can keep your distance. You know, they say feed them with a long handled spoon. You can keep your distance and still be civil to a person or a leader or to leaders of different nations all together, instead of just, slinging mud or trying to downgrade
Right.
you or insult you or step on you or make you feel like you're nothing because you don't believe the way they do.
Listening to others' preconceptions and, teaching others on how to do that. It's hard, but yeah.
Anything else that's really different? Many people wrote about being courteous and respectful and the behavior that you exhibit. Anything different that I haven't heard yet from what people, one person remarked working together.
Yeah,
I thought being mature. I think you need to be, as a leader, you need to be mature and act as an adult. And again, like the same theme that the other women have said, is that you listen to what everyone wants, not just what you want. And then you go from there.
And
Civility.
Yeah.
Civility comes from a Latin word, incivilis, which means that you're not a citizen. So you kind of want to have good manners on that, scale. Don't show lack of respect for your elders and things like that. If that makes sense.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that, Janine.
And working together towards, the country, not for the American people, not person, party, whatever, for the country, like it's supposed to be.
So
that raises an interesting. Oh, Georgina,
I was say sometimes that means working. When she says working together, we have to all work together toward a goal. It doesn't have to be a common goal, but we have to work together to accomplish any goal. So it may not be a common goal, and it may not even be a goal that you want, but if that is the goal, then that's what we need to all work together on in getting to.
Mm-hmm.
Do other people think that civility is essential to getting things done?
Yeah.
Regina, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Ashley, what would you say about that?
I definitely think you have to be civil. Like I kind of feel like it's like the textbook definition is what comes to mind for me. Like polite, formal behavior. If you're arguing and spending all this time, not being courteous, you're not going to get anything accomplished.
Right.
Okay. Let me
Being
ask
a
you
bully
this.
or being bullied or being the bully is never good.
Yeah.
What about what is the state of civility and incivility in America today? Some of you mentioned some of the things earlier in the beginning about COVID and masking and some of the tensions there. But in general, what's the state of civility and incivility in America today?
What civility?
What civility?
It is divided. Yeah.
Very
Pretty
cautious.
divided?
Very cautious.
I feel
Tell me
people
what that
now.
means, very cautious.
Everyone's very cautious of everything right now. We're afraid of many things. Getting back to normal scares people because what happens if there's just the unknown. It's the fear of the unknown.
I think too
And
that
does
people
fear,
need to.
Melissa, let me just clarify one thing with Betsy, then I'll come to you. Does fear of the unknown lead to incivility? Or
you walk down the street and everybody's crossing the street because they don't want to walk next to anybody, and that's not civil to each other. And it just,
Got it.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
Thank you for helping me understand that. Melissa?
I think that people in the last few years have become more indignant about how they speak to other people. They with their views, they're very indignant. They're very open. They're very, some people aren't polite about it. They're just, they just speak what they want. They say what they want. It just comes whatever out of their head. And they're not thinking before they speak. And I think people are being hurt. I think people are being divided.
Yeah, I noticed
Why did that happen?
I noticed that here in my town, because a lot of these businesses, we don't have a mask mandate anymore. And there's some people getting very angry at these businesses for not mandating these masks. And it's hurting so many local businesses. And it's just really sad to see. You know, it's, do you wear your mask? Do you not? You know, it should be a choice at this point. But, you know, stop banning these businesses on social media because they're going to lose their livelihood. It's just sad to see.
So it sounds like we all think that civility is a problem in America, that it's gotten worse in the last few years, and that many of us see COVID, the whole mask debate, the science debate contributing to it. And Tina, I'm going to come to you. What else is contributing to the increase in incivility right now? What else would we blame for that? Tina, what do you think?
I guess the media. I really, they divide people a lot. So like, they harp on the cause and the cops. Oh yeah, they harp on the cops. So I just think it's divided that way.
How many people think the media has really contributed to the division and incivility? Most of us.
And
Now,
I think in the media, I think it's the cable media that's the worst.
Cable media.
Yeah.
I also think it's been our political leader in the near past that also divided the country as far as civility and not acting in a mature and respectful way. And now I feel
independent, and you may like Trump for other reasons, but independent of voting for him or not voting for him or liking him or not liking, how many people say Donald Trump contributed to the incivility and division in the last 2 years? All of us, or most of us. I noticed that many of you, when I was asking about incivility, automatically linked it to the conversation around police. Is that one thing that is the division that we have over police and how police behave? Is that something that has contributed to the incivility lately, or not so much so?
So Linda, I just wanted to say, I think it's a whole culture. I think every topic that comes up, it almost drives that line every time. You have to find, are you pro or against? Are you this or that? And it's an extreme. Like, it's hard for the neutral people to live there because you have to all of a sudden announce how you feel about the cops, racial inequality, COVID, a mask. Like, they are almost drawing us to pick a group. And the encouragement of our leadership and the way that he displayed his messages is he encouraged that culture because he created followers by setting that example. And it just made it easier for everyone else to follow on board in an extreme kind of way.
I agree.
You know,
What do people think?
Oh, sorry.
About what he is saying? That you're forced to pick sides more than we used to be. You can't be neutral anymore. You have to be a follower of someone. How many people say, yeah, I kind of agree that's contributed to division? And Ashley, what were you going to say? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just going to say, I think that social media plays a huge part in that as well, because everybody's behind this screen and they feel like they can say whatever they want without consequence, you know? And so you have all of these people with like these crazy opinions, you know, especially being from Minneapolis. For me, I was like, whoa, because you see like 38th in Chicago on the news or like on social media, the where it's talked about, but it's not like that, you know? Like, I mean, there's a lot of things that are just very different and perceived differently, and people are emboldened, you know, so they're behind their computer and they think they can speak whatever they want freely.
Mhm.
And I see a lot of heads nodding on social media. Let's try something else. I want you to take a moment and imagine a truly civil politics in America. And then what does that look like to you? What does that mean for the country? What does it mean for you and your family? So imagine we had a really civil politics in our country. What does that mean? What would that look like? What would it result in? How would things be different for you and your family?
I think it would be a lot of, go ahead.
Janine, I'm going to have you write it first, and then I'll come to you first for your comments. But write it in the chat, direct it toward me, and then let's discuss what you write.
Say the question again, please, just brief the.
Sure. So imagine that we had a truly civil politics in America, and write down, what does that look like? What would that mean for the country? What would it mean for you and your family? So Betsy, you made an interesting comment. You said peaceful family dinners. How many people have division within their own family and friendship networks over kind of uncivil division? 2, 3, 4 of us? Okay. And thank you for
Don't bring
that.
up the difference. Don't bring up Trump and Biden. Never.
Ever? Okay. All
Not
right.
at some
How
of
many
my
people have
friends.
the rule, don't bring up Trump and Biden in the family? That just leads to division
Yeah.
right away and
Yeah,
incivility.
no. Or
like half of us. Okay, good. Thank you for sharing that. So lots of being able to express yourself, more open discussions, more sharing of ideas, more family, more fairness, less aggression toward the police and the people of color. Interesting, lots of similarities in the overall impact in the country. The one personal impact was peaceful family dinners. But one person said, I don't think it will really affect my family that much. How many people say, I don't think it would personally affect me that much, but it would affect the country quite a bit? So about half of us say not personally affect, but affect the country. What if I had said respectful instead of civil? Is that different, or is that really linked? Is that really similar?
It's the same.
Same thing?
Yeah, you can't
Anybody
be
say respect?
civil and be disrespectful. They just don't go. They don't go together. It's like fire and water.
Okay.
It's just going to cancel each other out.
Okay.
Well, civility is like a pleasant working environment or a pleasant environment, and it's without it you can't be productive. You can't be, you have to have it.
Okay. And I'm hearing a really strong thread that says we can't get things done together if we're not more civil toward each other, if we don't work more together. What about unity? What if I had said unity? Where does unity fit in all of this? Or does it?
It does. We definitely
Tell me more about that.
unity. We definitely need unity in this country, period. Ever since I was a teenager, I can remember. It doesn't matter if it's color, race, if it's pro-life, not pro-life, if it's the police against the civilians, or it's always something that's dividing people. Maybe not all the people, but some of the people. There's always something that's going on that and they're, they talk about it and they go in and they have the protest where it's rioting, or it's the injustice that we feel that someone's gotten for something they've done. They didn't get enough time, or they wasn't punished, or, it's just, there's always something to divide us as a people.
And people take it to the extreme.
Yes, and personally, as long as they can keep us divided. And I don't personally think that media plays the giant portion in it, because they just do their job and report what gets them viewers, just like movies. They go make a movie that's going to get people to the movie. So they just say what they say, and it's as us as a person and as a society to take it and decipher what's true, what's not true, and how to react to that. Our own personal reactions are our responsibilities. But the unity, there's always something to divide. So they can keep people divided in any kind of way, shape, form, or fashion, then there's always going to be somebody else that can like be in charge and do what they want to do, because you have two people, always just a group of people.
Well, isn't that like Putin's playbook?
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that people think that division is almost a political strategy to gain power. Is that what you're saying to me? And I think Trinity said yes, and Melissa and Denise.
We're stronger when we're united.
We're stronger when we're united. Let me ask you this. Is there cooperation among some groups of elected leaders, or are there none of them willing to cooperate with each other?
Very little cooperation. It's either there's no gray area for them. There's no in between. There's just we are or we aren't. Just like, if you don't do this, we're not going to do that. So if you do this, well, we don't want that, so we're not going to do this. So it's like a bargaining chip. And
It's
so
power.
And what about other people, Donna?
It's power, political power.
Power.
Yeah.
Division leads to political power. You can't have power if you cooperate.
Yeah.
Not lately.
No, but the power doesn't really exist if you have total cooperation, because that means that there's no one arguing about something that they want or need or want to have their way. So everybody's living kind of.
So Regina, thank you. And that's a really been a great sharing. What do other people think? Donna, and then Jenny and Trinity, what do you think?
I mean, I agree.
What about
I agree. And I think, like I said, you have to have it, and it's power. It's political power. And you
don't have cooperation because people are trying to get more political power over each other. Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah. Like, how do I want to say this? We don't have cooperation, but there's so many things going on right now that are so unsure. I mean, okay, the big thing we have here going on is the BLM. We have the Black Lives Matter. It's a big deal. I mean, the downtown Columbus, Ohio, they wrecked it. They vandalized. It was boarded up. It was so sad. I mean, somebody thinks it's power. We can do this because, they don't have the power to stop us. We can do this. We can vandalize. We can, you know what I mean? And that's a big thing going on today. I mean, I'm not prejudiced at all, but I don't feel that they all have the right to go down and destroy the whole downtown city.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I know that's a controversial topic. Jenny, what are you thinking?
I think that people are really hurt right now. I think we are in recovery mode. And I think it's going to take time. And I do think that the powers that be, I mean, you watch different news media and you get completely different opinions. And it's interesting to take a look at everything. But I do think that we are becoming a little bit kinder. And I think that we are starting or beginning to maybe hopefully work together. I mean, that's my hope. That's what, I would like to see. I work in where I work, we are all pretty much on the same page, and it's just a really easy place to be for people of color, for everybody. And so I'm hopeful that things are going to get better, and I feel like they are.
I'm going to talk more about that in a moment, but is one party more civil than the other?
I believe so. I believe so.
So how many people say, I think one party is more civil than the other?
I didn't used to think that, but now I do.
Okay, 4 of us. And how many people say, I think they're both the same?
I think they both have
4 of
their
us?
moments
Okay, so 4 of
of
us.
awfulness.
One that's more civil than the other, which one is that? Which is more civil than the other?
I believe the Democrat side's more civil. What's his name? The majority, McConnell, said he's not going to work with Democrats at all. His job is to not let anything that Biden wants go through. And so how can you have anything done when you're going to talk like that? I mean,
have other people heard of that McConnell statement? Anybody else heard of that statement?
No.
Tina, you did? Tina, what do you think of that statement when you heard that statement? And you're on mute.
Stop it. Basically, I thought he was a piece of crap.
Why?
Because for one thing, Democrats will listen to Republicans, but they don't even bother to listen to Democrats. They just want to do it how they want to do it.
And I know we have some differences of opinion on this call on that. One person said, I used to think there was no difference between the parties, but now I think there is. Who was that?
I think it was
that you, Melissa? Tell me what you were thinking.
Well, I was always a staunch Republican, and then things happened in the last 4 years that did not appeal to me. The way that the person handled speaking, his decorum, everything. And I agree, like, I didn't hear that about McConnell, but I agree that the Republicans just automatically naysay anything that the Democrats want. And I do feel that the Democrats are more open to listening, more open to talking about things, coming to an agreement, coming to some kind of, it doesn't have to be all one way. It can be both ways. They're trying to come together, and it's not just what they want, it's what is best for everyone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes total sense. Let me ask you a question. Is civility an American problem or primarily a problem in Washington, D.C.? Is it a problem across America, or is it a problem primarily in Washington, D.C.?
I think it's become, it didn't used to be, but I think it's become more across the whole nation.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Oh, and I lots of heads. Okay, an American problem. Let me ask you this. Some people have said it's important to have leaders who do not compromise and stand firm on the values they believe in. What do you think about that? It's important to have leaders who do not compromise and stand firm on the values you believe in. What do you think?
I think there's some ways that, no, if you believe in something, yeah, stand your ground. But if you can't get past that, go to something where you can, like healthcare. Just move to something else. At least come together on something, some big problem.
What do other people think about that? Stand your ground. Betsy, what do you think? And then Crystal, I'm going to come to you.
I think everybody feels they stand their ground on things. We all have born with our feelings or encounters, and have those in your path of life you've lived. You're encountering, your experiences, your life experiences, that you're going to have to be firm on some things. I don't think there's anything wrong with being firm and staying there. I mean,
so we want more civility and cooperation, but we also want people to stand firm on their beliefs, particularly beliefs that are rooted in your personal life experience. How do you mesh those two things together?
It's hard. That's why we have all these problems, and that's why there's two political parties, and why there's a right and a left, and it's why it's always going to be. It's always been that way. This is just, it's uncomfortable, but this is what we have to go through right now until we can find some common ground with everybody and come back. It's been a hell of a last year, political, personal, everything, everybody's jobs and everything. So you're going to find people passionate about something, even if they weren't passionate about it, just because they need to feel passionate about something and to say something.
You can have the passion, but without all the drama.
Some people can't.
Well, yeah, but it's not a TV show. It's it's world reality.
Crystal,
or is it? What we're seeing on TV, some of it's not true.
Right. A lot of it
is made up and not correct, but we have people who believe it and need to believe it. And so it's hard waters to navigate.
Crystal, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm so confused. We actually have this thing going on right now in Wyndham. It's about a recount, an election for last year, and Trump is all over this. He's like all aboard this. I am just so sick and tired of hearing this. Why do we have to continue with now? He's no longer president.
Agreed.
And now we have to do all these recounts, and businesses are closed down and people are suing other people. I'm just so frustrated with it. It's just, I don't know what to do anymore. It's just, I just turn off the news these days. It's just, it's why bother anymore? Politics.
Okay. Are there things that you think it's important to stand your ground on?
Well, there is definitely, but when people try to do that, they get so much crap from everybody else. It's just, you really can't speak your mind anymore. It's just, my brother and I are the opposites. I just don't talk politics with my family anymore. I just gave up.
Okay.
It's not worth the battle anymore.
Okay. Trinity?
I think a lot can be gained from compromise, but I think you still have to hold true to your values. So I think it's still worth hearing someone out for. But I mean, I learn something new every day, and I learn from others around me. So I can't say that I'm always going to hold true to something. So I get compromising because I've learned something. So it's tough. I think we should always be open to other people's experiences and knowledge. That's how we learn. If there's a hard line, there's a hard line.
If we think about what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now, what would we tell if we were all powerful and we're like the committee to direct the Congress and the president? What would we tell them to compromise on? And what would we tell them to stand their ground on? So we're all powerful. We're the voice of God going to the Congress and politicians in Washington. We're going to tell them, compromise on these things. Okay, if you stand your ground on these things. What do we want them to compromise on? And then what do we want them to stand their ground on?
Stand your ground on unemployment, returning to work. Get off of this. Okay. Get off of the sitting home stuff. There's so many jobs hiring right now, and nobody wants to work because they're going to stay home and collect unemployment.
I'm so with Crystal. This unemployment thing has, I work commission only. And I have to get out here and in my line of business and really hustle. But it's enabled people to stay home and still get paid, and they're not going back to work because they're making more money with this extra boost that they've been getting. They're making more money.
I can't agree with that. My daughter was out of work for 9 months. My daughter made 6 figures. She was barely, she lives in South Carolina. I think the extra $300 plus $200, she was getting $500 a week, was nowhere near what she was making when she was working. She sent out hundreds of applications. It took her 9 months. So I am personally thankful that there was that extra money because she works in the healthcare field and she just could not get back in the field because they weren't open. Hospitals weren't open. Doctors' offices weren't open.
Melissa, you're correct. In certain fields, in certain fields that were downsized and, had to go, the money that they are making is not nothing compared to what you're making. Because even myself,
survive. It helped her make her car payment. It helped her, not
agree,
move home and fall into poverty.
Right, it did, and it did help a lot of people. But when we're talking about the people that, like right now, a big thing in Dallas. I don't know about any other city. And there's been articles, and it's the last one I read. They can't even get enough people to come back to work into the restaurants, the service industries that are there, that we still need people.
People are still scared to go out and get COVID.
The other thing is where I am. Oh, sorry.
Let me move us on, because it sounds like I could do a whole focus group on the unemployment issue, and it sounds like we've got really good views on it. Let me just get a quick hand count so I know where people are at, and then let's move on to other things that we want people to compromise on and things we want them to stand their ground. So the people that think it's time to end the unemployment now because it's the extra unemployment benefits now because it's working, it's holding people back from going back to work, versus the people who say, no, there's still a need for it because there's some people that were still very much out of work and struggling to find work. So how many people say end the unemployment now?
I'm on the edge.
Yeah, on the edge? Okay, 3 of us, 4 of us. And how many people say no, continue it because there's still people out of work? So 3 of us. Tina, I'm going to come to you. We're going to change topics here for a minute. What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say Joe Biden? You had wanted to talk about this before and I cut you off. So tell me what you were thinking about Joe Biden. Good, that's not so good.
Amazing president so far. He did so much within just like the first few weeks of him being elected. He's trying to make everything better, and he's trying to become united with every states. He's passing a lot of stuff. I also think that the previous question, I think voter suppression, I think we shouldn't have to go stand in long lines to vote. And also healthcare. I think they should do a big thing with healthcare. I know Biden's trying to do it right now. I recently lost my healthcare since I got married. So when I had Obamacare previously, and it was barely paying anything, but now they want me to pay like $600 a month for it. And my husband doesn't even make that much money. So, and I don't make much. I mean, I'm a nanny. So, but I think they should do something with that too.
Okay. And thank you for raising those issues. What about other people? What do you think? What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say Biden? Jenny, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I think he's kind. I think his heart is in the right place. I'm cautiously optimistic.
What do other people think? Ashley, what do you think about Biden?
I think that we needed change. So I'm really happy that he's here and at least bringing that change. He's drastically different than Trump was. Anyone, no matter what side of the fence you're on, that he's way different. So, I'm hoping that things are better here. We definitely need, with all the division, we need change. So.
Anything that's not so good about Biden that comes to mind, or anything that's positive that I haven't heard?
I hear it at my house all the time about how, when Trump was president, my retirement, my 401ks made a bunch of money, and now it's not making any money. I hear that.
Trump was a businessman. He ran the country. It was a business, yes. And he did make money for a lot of people.
They're like, I hear it at home all the time. The other half, he's like, I made so much money when Trump was a president. Now I'm not making squat.
Okay. So good differences. Anything else that's not so good about Biden?
He's old.
Thank you, Betsy. I didn't want to say it.
He's old. That's the first thing that popped in my mind when you old man, and I hope he lasts long enough to finish one term. He's old.
On one hand, it's a plus for us because he has been around for a long time. So one thing is that he will take the seniors into mind when he's in office, which is very, very, very important. And
our allies.
Because I'm in Medicare, it's a very passionate subject for me. He will take the seniors as far as the Medicare and the Social Security and stuff goes into mind, and protecting their entitlements that they've earned. But on the other hand, being kind of a little younger, we kind of need someone with a younger mindset as well for the future, like to look for the future, like the next generation coming up and things that are coming new to the world and stuff like that, and what's going to happen after the pandemic. And so we kind of like, it's like a plus and a minus.
But he
Okay.
is caring about
Is
the future. He
Biden,
wants, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Melissa, go ahead.
Oh, no, I said he does care about the future, and he is, you know, with, you know, wanting, you know, to end the emissions and be greener. And, you know, he is thinking about the younger generation when he does that, when he talks about that and wants those issues resolved.
Is Biden a unifier or not?
I think
he
he is.
tries to be. It's just there isn't any accepting it on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
He's unifying the people as a whole because they all want a lot of things he wants, you know, to get done. It's just the other party doesn't want him to do anything good or bad. You know, they just don't want him to do anything.
Anybody not see him as a unifier? Is he civil in his personal approach or not
Yes.
so much so?
Civil.
Yeah.
I think
Civil?
so. I don't think he
Trump-
spouts like Trump did.
You don't
Almost.
think he what? Like, say that again, Donna?
I think that he doesn't spout off as much like Trump did. I think a lot of things that, I don't know. I think Trump said a lot of things before he thought what he said. He just blurted stuff out.
Like you're nasty and all that. That's not very
The one that
unifying.
got me was when he said all Mexicans were rapists. That is the one that got me.
Now,
He
let
was a
me ask you
bully. He
this.
was a big bully.
He
That's how
was.
he got through his life. He was a big bully. That's how he got all his deals done. That's what he's
Yep.
the poster child for
I
being.
mean, the disabled reporter he made fun of. Yeah, there was a lot of incidents.
There's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot.
Now, is there anything Bessie mentioned, and Donna, you mentioned what you hear from your husband, but is there anything else positive about Donald Trump?
The positive, he's a liar.
He helped a program that helped with disabled people with total and permanent disability loan forgiveness. You know, it made it so that you didn't have to pay taxes on that anymore. I thought that was really a positive thing. I mean, to be honest,
I think
because
that was
imagine not being able to finish school because you're disabled and then you have to pay taxes on the loans. You know?
I think my brother brought up a good point. My brother's a huge Trump fan, and I was not. But
No.
you know, for the whole year, my brother always when there was people destroying Trump signs and things, he's like, you will never see somebody destroy a Trump supporter destroy a Biden sign. And then in my town, that's all we saw for that whole month. And boy, I just went off on that.
Okay.
But
So
yeah.
Trump, I'm taking it, contributed to incivility, and we've talked about that already. Let me ask you this. Is Trump the leader of the Republican Party still now or not?
They say so. At least
Yeah.
Lindsey Graham says so.
I think he's definitely an influencer.
Yeah.
Maybe not a leader, but an influencer.
I think he must have something on a lot of those people. I don't know.
I know,
It's
right?
just weird.
I don't know what he's doing on Facebook.
Okay. Let me ask you this. What do you think? What comes to mind when I say Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris. What comes to mind?
I think she's a great person. I lived in California when she was senator there, and she did a lot of good things for California. I mean, she really did. She thinks about people. She has, you know, empathy and you know, I don't think she's as crazy as what a lot of the right says.
I can't wait to see what she does.
She's moderate.
And someone who said, I can't wait to see what she does.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what she brings in.
Anybody have negative views of Kamala Harris?
I don't know a lot about her, but I think she might end up being president. So we'll see.
And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I guess we'll see. I mean, it definitely helps, you know, girls, you know, children. It's a positive thing to see. You know, there's a woman of color, and you know that's great. You know, my daughter is Native American and definitely represents that with the way she looks. Seeing a woman of color as vice president, that was awesome. You know.
Ah, Now, is she civil or not so civil
It's
in
civil.
her
She's
approach?
civil.
Melissa,
She's
what'd you say?
civil and she's civil and respectful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Anybody
she's
see
quiet.
her
We
as
really
not that
haven't,
civil?
heard much from her at all. I mean, she sort of became
Okay.
vice president. She's not in the news. I don't know kind of what she's doing. Wish we had more,
Okay.
her face more out there doing things, helping him in a sense. But I know
Okay.
vice presidents don't do that, but maybe we could have a change and she could really contribute, not just be a, I don't know, arm candy
Figurehead.
on the side or whatever.
Yeah,
Just in case
I
he
agree.
dies or something, she's there, but that's not what we want. Be nice to see her contribute.
Okay. So we want to see her more visible. Trinity,
I
what do
think
you
so.
think of Vice President Harris?
I don't think I'm informed enough to make a comment. So far as how she represents our country, where she stands on her policies. I haven't really seen her take a strong stand, so I can't say positive or negatively. I like to see how she stays with the party and hears the party, but I'd also like to hear her individual thoughts. But so far, I think she's been civil and respectful, and I can appreciate her being active.
Mhm.
What about the, what thoughts come to mind? And Tina, I'm going to come to you. What thoughts come to mind when I say Democrats in Congress? What thoughts come to mind?
Mhm.
They're doing their job.
They're doing their job.
Good job. Things are getting passed. Guess that's it.
Things are getting passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and quickly.
And it's not,
Yeah, very
and
quick.
it's not in their head, yes. And things are getting passed quickly. What
Yeah.
else? Democrats in Congress. What else comes to mind?
Oh.
Hope?
That's a tough one.
Jenny, what are you thinking?
I think they're working hard and I do think they're getting things passed quickly.
I think that
What
they're
about
trying.
Republicans?
Oh, I was gonna say, I just was saying, I think that the Democrats are really trying to do things for the people, for the whole, all people, not just people that are rich, not just people that are poor, but all people.
Now, are they infighting or are they fairly united? The Democrats, are they infighting, fighting with each other? Or are
Not
they
as much, only Manchin.
only Manson? What do other people think? Fighting with each other or pretty united?
Pretty united.
Pretty
We
united?
don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Exactly.
We don't know
Okay.
really if they're disagreeing with each other, but they do put up a united front.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's definitely important.
Good distinction. What about the Republicans in Congress? What are they like? What comes to mind when I say Republicans in Congress? Donna, what comes to mind?
They're the majority. You know, the Republicans are the majority.
No.
No,
I
we're
don't know.
Democrats are majority.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Because the great state of Georgia made that happen.
Yeah, that's right.
But they're kind of even, except for Harris has that last vote.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much independent, so I don't go either way.
He used to be middle of the
But I
road
mean, what's
too,
your
independent.
observation about the Republicans in Congress right now?
I feel like they're divided. I feel like they lack leadership. I feel like they've kind of gone rogue individually. And I just feel like they're standing up for their overall, but they really seem to miss the mark sometimes cohesively.
What's an example of missing the mark?
When you see one representative on TV sharing something and the other one just kind of bashes them publicly, like that's not what I believe. And then they start labeling them as liberal.
That's like Cheney, like they're doing to Cheney right now, and she's like one of the staunch Republicans. I mean, it's crazy. It's just crazy. And Mitt Romney, and getting booed off stage in his own town. I think there's a lot of I don't know, something weird going on with the Republicans on them getting out the ones, the centrists, or the ones that have been there and are kind of.
I'm going to say the Republicans are kind of infighting right now. They're kind of divided. They're doing
Kind
some
of.
weird stuff.
Only against
Okay,
three.
most of us. Okay. let's assume we keep going the way we're going. American politics pretty uncivil right now. Maybe there's a little bit of change, but we got a lot of division. If that keeps going, let's say we're in a time capsule and we come back 20 years from now, and it's been like this for 20 years. What's America going to be like? What's going to happen if we keep going this way for 20 years? Tina, what's going to happen?
We're going to be broke.
Autocratic society.
Broke.
Yeah, I think
A
we'll
lot
be
of-
broke too.
Tina, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we're gonna be broke. I think it'll be like almost the end of times. Like the stock market will crash. I think bad will happen.
Yeah, if it
Now,
doesn't
why
stop,
will-
we'll be
why does the
autocratic
big-
and crazy.
Autocratic leadership.
Yeah,
Why does
crazy.
being divided lead to being broke?
Well, I just think if the country keeps up like it is, we're not going to have any money.
But Biden has a plan. Biden has a plan to tax corporations and people that make more money, $400,000 or more. He's going to tax those people at a higher rate. That's going to help with the economy.
If we can get it passed, they have to throw that filibuster out to pass it probably.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's crazy, I mean, they won't work with them on it.
What else? 20 years from now, we're as divided for the last 20 years as we are right now. What's this country going to be like? Let's say we were in a time capsule.
We're not going to have any health care at all. So nobody can agree on that ever.
Ah, okay. No health care. Betsy, what do you think we're going to be like? And then Jenny.
I think it could be that much different. It might just be like what it is now.
What it is
We've
now.
always
And how would you-
We've always had, opposite sides. We've always had the two parties, and they're in control, and then they're in control, and we could go back and forth and continue what we've been doing the last 20 years, and clean up and make a mess. Maybe clean up, maybe clean it better and keep going. I don't see it. I'm always hopeful. I never see it as being bad. I want to believe that leave the earth to our next generation, that they'll take care of it, and we'll be good.
Jenny, what do you think?
I think, we'll have maybe 4, maybe 8 years of this, and then there'll be 4, maybe 8 years of someone else. And I don't see us making a tremendous amount of progress, but I also don't see us backstepping a whole lot. I think there are always going to be issues, and I just don't think that things are going to change that much. I don't think things are going to be awful in 20 years.
If we have this level of civility, do you think there's a possibility of violence?
Yes, I think it
There
will
already
come
has
again.
been.
I think it
There
will come
already
again.
has.
You should see these people in Florida. They're crazy. Serious.
Trinity, what you were saying yes right away. Tell me what you were thinking.
I think that's always been, but I don't think that's a party thing. I think that's a people thing. I think there's going to be a violent group. I think that group changes depending on the atmosphere, but I think there's always a chance for violence.
Okay. Ashley, you had remarked on what was going on in Minneapolis. What does that give you as a perspective? If we have this level of incivility, does it contribute to violence?
To be totally honest, I think that there's always been issues. I think that people are a lot louder about them now. I think there was a bigger platform to talk about it. And I think that there's more awareness, I guess, is where I'm going. I don't know that things will change very much. I think that some of the issues that have been around, some people just got tired of them, they're like, hey, let's try to fix this. I mean, it's very different than things were before, because now everything is televised. There was the saying, the revolution won't be televised. Now it will, now you're going to see everything. So it's very different in that regard, but I don't think that things are very different as, I do believe there's always been division. There's always been social issues. It's just the way that they're being handled is a little bit different and a lot more focused.
How many people think that we've always had some level of violence? And how many people think the violence is worse right now? How many people say we've always had some level of violence and it's not particularly worse now than before? 5 or 6 of us. How many people say it's worse now? 3 of us. Regina, what are you thinking? How's it worse now?
It's worse now because it's not just, I mean, we've always had some type of violence, just because, I mean, for some reason that's human nature sometimes, and the way they resolve the issues. I don't know, but now everything that goes on in the world pits us against each other. And I used to tell everybody when the whole, for example, going back to the police, you know, and the shootings and all that stuff. Well, people are afraid, whether it's people of color or anybody, they're afraid to get pulled over because they don't know what's going to happen, how the police are going to act, if they're going to be targeted, if they're going to be shot, if they're going to be this, they're going to be beat up. And then the police don't know, am I approaching someone who is going to shoot me because now they hate the police because somebody else did something else to a policeman, did something else. So you both have them on both sides, and now they're both afraid. So what happens when people are afraid? When you're afraid, you react in that way, a defensive way. So now we're both afraid, each other's both afraid they're going to shoot each other. So now we take on this, I got to protect myself, I got to protect myself. Now we're just shooting at each other. So they're shooting because they're afraid you're going to shoot. They're shooting because you're afraid you're going to shoot. And now we have it for all kinds of reasons, you know, whether it's Trump and Biden, non-Trump supporters, now they're fighting. You know, I support Trump, you don't. Well, he's, you know, it's okay for us to be aggressive in this and stand. So we're just going to fight it out. It's just, it's gotten worse and worse. And even though we have hate crime laws and everything, and I mean, now we have commercials on TV talking about the Asian, you know, hate crimes going on and the Asian Pacific hate crimes and stuff. And it's just one target after another. And I don't know why people feel that the way to resolve it is a violent act.
I think there's outside interference making our division worse.
Who's the outside interference?
Like, say, Russia, like that's been, you know, as fact, they were in, you know, screwing with our stuff. They just screwed the pipeline up.
How many people think that Russia or other outside influencers might be making the divisions worse in America right now? Definitely. And it's fine if it's just Janine and her 10,000. And Tina, okay. Melissa, why do you think the violence, why do you think there's more of a chance of violence right now?
Oh, I didn't agree with that. I don't,
I
was just putting my hand, no. But then, you know, we look back though, you guys, like think about the civil rights in the 60s, how much violence there was then. I mean, there's been violence all along. I mean, with a lot of different things. Yeah, so.
Do you think, you said civil rights and it reminded me of something. Do you think that we might be on, that there's a possibility of civil war? Do you think that the violence and the division are that great that there's a possibility of civil war or not really?
I don't think so.
I definitely think it can get to that point. It might not be today, tomorrow, or maybe not even our lifetimes, but it could definitely get to that point. I mean, we did in America before, you know, Texas used to be its own country. I mean, so, and then, you know, Mexico used to, you know, so there has been civil wars. We had civil war over slavery. There have been issues that we've had civil war over, which you would think we could come with the logical reason. I mean, if you want to be your own country, Texas, then just be it, you know? But there are so many reasons. There are people that want so much power and they want it their way so bad that it just happens. And I think the next that if we ever do have a civil war, we won't even really know that that's what we got ourselves into until it's like full blown.
Who else thinks we might have a possibility of civil war, or do we largely think it's not really that possible?
I would hope not, but there is chance of it. After the insurrection, I mean, you know, think about that, you know.
I'm going to come back to the insurrection in a moment. Ashley, what are you thinking?
You know, I'm just seeing a lot of people are so argumentative about like gun rates right now. You know, I've heard everybody that I know that's a gun owner, responsible or not, says, oh, if these gun laws pass, you know, they can have my bullets first. And, you know, just seeing posts and comments on like the news sites. And I think that with, you know, the Democratic majority, they might change the gun laws. And I think a lot of people won't like that.
Okay. Let me come back to the January 6th event. do you think that January, how does that relate to what we've been talking about in terms of division and civility and incivility and our politics? How do the January 6th events relate to that? And Betsy, let me start with you. How do or maybe you say they don't, but how do they relate to that? What do you think?
Their actions obviously weren't civil, so I mean, I guess it's hard to say.
Right.
It wasn't. They were fired up by a leader that they believed was being wronged, and it's as close as we're going to get to a civil war, I guess. But it seemed to have been handled well. They're prosecuting, they're finding people, they're saying it was wrong.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Jenny, what do you think?
Oh, gosh. It was awful. It was, hard to watch, but I couldn't stop watching it all afternoon. I don't even know, honestly. I don't know.
And thanks for that honesty. I appreciate it. It's hard to process. Tina, what do you think? The events of January 6th.
I think it was
relate to what we've been talking about.
I think it was an end of a bad era. Like, it was horrible to see, and they were just following what Trump was wanting them to do. And I don't agree with that whatsoever. I think they were very uncivil. They didn't need to harm all those people. It was just a bad thing to watch.
You raised a good point. Do you think that January 6th were the actions of just a handful of zealots, or do you think it represented a major thrust of the Republican Party? Was it just a handful of zealots or a major thrust of the Republican Party?
There was at least 35% that went in there of the Republicans. Of the Republicans.
They rented buses and I mean, they got together and, this wasn't like a thing that just happened all of a sudden because people got mad and rioted and rushed. I mean, the lady that was here, that was a huge realtor here from Dallas, Texas. And she was caught on camera and everything. That's not that they were in there taking selfies of the things that were going on and pictures of what they were doing and tearing up. And they literally her and a bunch of other people chartered a jet to go there. They went there for that sole purpose. And if you have a group of people, I mean, there were a lot of people that, were there, whether they were on camera or outside or got inside. There were a lot of people that had zip ties and things. What were you doing? If you were just wanting to break a window, she was standing beside a window taking pictures of everything. And I mean, it's like they do it and then they brag. And then you have the people that aren't really brave enough to go out there and do it with them, but then they're cheering them on.
Yeah, but you had crazies bringing in scaffolding to hang Mike Pence.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy. That's just
crazy. If you have people that are willing to literally bum rush the White House, one of the places that's supposed to be so protected, I mean, we're really to go in there and just tear it all up, whether you're Republican, independent, or Democrat. That's supposed to be our place where we, business is taken care of. It's not just Republicans there
on things, not fight.
I mean, you just didn't care. You just went there and just were intentional to tear it up. And other countries are looking at us like, look, their people they'll tear it up themselves. We don't have to go there and do nothing.
Donna, what do you think? And what do you think your husband would say about it?
Well, yeah, really. I think that the cops let them in there. And I mean, I don't know if you guys all saw that, but
a few, yes.
Yeah, and I think they were in on it. I think that I don't know. It was wrong, but and the cops, I think they were in on it. And I think some of it was publicity.
Okay.
I think that some of those people, they have those people that are that's what they do. They call them up and they go to these riots and they go to these things, and that's what they do. They go to start the whole process. And I
get that it's not a small group of people, not a few zealots. definitely a big group of organized people. What I'm unclear about is, do you think those organized people are a major factor of the Republican Party, or do you think that is an organized group that is kind of different?
I don't think they're Republicans or Democrats. I just think it's an organized group.
Yeah, I don't think that we can judge an entire party based on that. Because I mean, that was bizarre.
Ashley first and then Janine. Go ahead.
Sorry
Ashley.
about that. I don't think it's really fair, no matter which party, to judge, the whole entire party based on the action of those people. I think that that was really wrong and really erratic behavior. It was childish. I mean, there's so many things I could go on to say about that, but I don't think it's fair to judge the whole party. Even if it was 35%, I'm sure that there was some people who were like, what the heck is going on? So
it was disrespectful. Very.
So let me ask, Crystal, I'll give you the last word, then I want to go on to the next topic.
All right, sorry, what was the question?
What do you think? Is this a major thrust of the Republican Party, the January 6th activists, or do you think it's a large organized group, but not necessarily a major thrust of the Republican Party?
I just, it to me was like, all those people that were there, how could that not be organized, right? And pre-planned by everybody? There's just no way that happened the way it did. And I believe there was
it was pre-planned.
Well, yeah, Trump said the day before, come down, it's going to be a wild time.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of different people or entities planning this. The Oath Keepers, they were said to have, the Proud Boys.
Yeah.
And those are supremacist groups.
So let me ask you this. Let's presume for a moment that we are the National Commission. We are civil, we are cooperative, we are respectful of each other, we are inclusive. And we are going to deal with incivility in our country. We are going to take steps to provide solutions to the incivility in our country. What are some of the things that we want to do? What would we recommend as solutions here? What steps would we take? We're all powerful. We're not going to contradict each other's ideas. We're just going to build on them. But we are the National Commission. Our report is due in 5 minutes, so we got to hustle here to get it ready. What are we going to recommend? No bad ideas, only good ideas. Everybody's idea is a good one. What do you want to recommend?
Don't represent yourself as something you're not. Make that like journalists. You used to have, people that you could say told you whatever. Now it's like they're just, you have to have some ability to keep people on the straight and narrow, not just all these lies that just are floating all over willy-nilly on a news supposed station. It's crazy. You need to fix that.
Okay. What else are we going to do?
I think everyone should have basic human rights. I think that's really important to me.
Okay. Everyone have basic human rights?
Everybody should be heard and listened to.
Everybody heard and listened to? That's a basic rule. How are we going to implement that so everybody's heard and listened to?
I don't know.
Well, we've always done it by debating before in all my past.
Okay. Civil debates. What else are we going to do? How many people are saying, I don't know if we can solve this. I don't know how we get this genie back in the bottle. Most of us. Okay. So let's go through the different areas. We talked about social media. And one thing would be that you have to have sources. What else could we do? What kind of reforms could we make in social media to improve that?
Just say you can't talk about politics or anything on there.
Okay, no politics on social media. What else?
Just like in a bar, you can't talk politics.
The one thing that's been done away with a lot of, and that's in every way, TV, social media, radio, and people are so against it, and I get why, but the censorship. We have to have some kind of oversight of what's being put out into, mass into our world, regardless, because without, I mean, I'm not saying we need to be censored and people need to tell us, because it's a very, touchy subject, and I'm kind of like on the line with it, but we need some type of oversight.
How many people say, I don't know exactly how to do it because we're worried about the censorship piece, but we need some kind of standards or censorship or something, oversight of social media posting. And Jenny's like, okay, so most of us, but Jenny's like, no, that's a problem. Tell me, Jenny, what you're thinking.
Well, you can choose to go on social media. You can choose what you want to look at on Facebook. You can choose to mute people. You can choose not to see that kind of post. I just don't think that is censorship to me. I think that we're, as an adult, you can choose if you want to watch CNN or if you want to watch Fox or Newsmax, or if you want to watch a little bit of all of it.
And that's totally true. That's why it's a very touchy subject, and I'm kind of like on the line with it. But there are some instances that, yes, you can choose, but you know what, even if you don't go onto Facebook, let's say for 2 or 3 days, but you go look online shopping for a green toaster. As soon as you get on Facebook, you have all these advertisements for green toasters.
Yep.
Because
I think that's more privacy than censorship, though.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, like, they have ways of, like, algorithm and everything from what we're doing to see what we're doing, to put it out there, to advertise for us. So maybe, there are people that are looking up things or online or whatever. So if they can do that to us and then just stick it on our things, we didn't ask you to do that. And they can see what we're looking at. Maybe someone is curious and goes on there, and I mean, I don't know, does something like girl on girl sex or something. I don't know, something like, I'm just saying something extreme. And then the next thing you know, you go on and here's all these things, and then it just leads to more. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have self-control and you shouldn't exit it and block it and everything, because that's what I do, because I have a choice of what I read and look at. But not everybody knows how to make those sensible choices, and some people are looking for a way, and nowadays more and more, for a way to fit in.
No, let me ask one way to stop the lying and still be able to speak your mind, that you shouldn't be able to lie and spread rumors that people will believe, if they're
we're gonna
put in all the time.
crawl out the line. We're gonna have multiple sources. You don't have to have sources anymore. We're gonna have sources. This is an interesting idea that I've actually heard in other groups, Regina, that the way that the algorithms work, where they echo what you have, actually accentuates the division. So we're not going to have you chased. If you want to go look up 67 hits on white nationalists, that's fine. But if you look up one thing, you're not going to be followed by 67 hits on white nationalism, for example. That we're going to change those algorithms so they don't reinforce the silos. Is that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that something that...
Yeah, that's kind of like what I'm saying. Like, I mean, like, you can go on and look up, and I do things like research and stuff because I have events for seniors and those kind of things. I'm not going and looking up any kind of crazy stuff, y'all. But as soon as I go on
It's
there,
okay
I
if
mean,
you are.
I looked up, like, I was just simply looking for rain boots. And when I went back, and even in my emails, all of a sudden I had, I mean, so much advertisement and emails for rain boots and from all over. It was like I looked at one place.
And they say they don't monitor us. Yeah, okay.
You should use DuckDuckGo.
So it has that
because they can't trace you.
So what I'm hearing is we're having this change, which is going to create more civility because it's not reinforcing, and also protect our privacy, which is important to us. Let me ask you this. What about deplatforming people? What about taking people off where they say, you have so contributed to division or falsehood, we're going to take the platform away from you. And that an example, of course, is Donald Trump being cut off Twitter.
He broke the
after-
rules.
Well,
Broke the rules.
How about from some other people? So Regina and Janine, I'm going to come back to you, but Tina, what are you thinking about this? And then I'm going to go around. Melissa and Ashley, what do you think? Deplatforming people, what do you feel about that?
I think it's a positive thing. If somebody's doing what Donald Trump did and just kind of instigated and incited people to riot and to act inappropriately, I think that it's a good thing.
Ashley, what do you think?
I'm really torn on that because I do feel like you should have freedom of speech. I really do. It's important to me. But I mean, I do feel like if you're inciting riots and like causing this huge chaos, there should be consequences. I mean, if I was doing that, I'd probably lose my Facebook page. I mean, why should he be treated and held to like this higher platform where he has all these privileges to like get people to go do these crazy things and there's no consequences? So, I mean, I'm kind of torn there where I feel like in that case, yes, even if it was a Democratic leader doing that, I mean, yes, you shouldn't be allowed to get people riled up, like I can't, you can't, they can't either.
Tina, what do you think? Deplatforming people.
Yeah, I agree. I really don't know how to answer this.
Okay.
Sorry. I don't know how to answer.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Some people have said we need some kind of effort to increase the breadth of media that people consume, that each of us consumes. We really need people to go to more than one source and multiple sources so they get multiple perspectives. What do we think about that? Trinity, what do you think about that? Is that a solution or not really?
I think it's common sense. If I hear something from somebody say it once, I'm going to check them. Either old school, I'd ask somebody else or Google. So, I mean, I accept people's information at face value, but for me to accept it as my own truth, I'm going to do some more research. So I think that's just common sense.
Okay. Do you think people tend to do that? It's common sense for you, but do other
Yes.
people tend to do that?
I hope so. I don't know.
I think if you're
I don't think
educated,
people do that.
most educated people know like you can't use
I believe
Wikipedia.
I'm
as
looking at
source.
us.
Yeah.
Okay. So encouraging, but that's common sense. Some people have said we need to reform our elections. If we're going to get the civility in politics, we need to reform our elections. Are there any election reforms that people think would help in terms of improving civility?
Well, yeah, turn all the ones I just put in, get them out, because all the new ones are crazy.
Okay. What else would we do? Donna, Betsy, what would we do?
I don't know.
Are there any election reforms?
There's got to be a way to count one vote per person. Like
There is.
Oh, yeah.
But there's got to be a way that everybody gets one and you don't get 10 and he doesn't get 15. Like, I'm not that smart, but I feel
There
like
really is. There is
should.
ways out there. The places have them in place. So you can't, you have a number. You're known if you've already voted in that state or anywhere else pretty much by your number.
But I like how
Is it
COVID
much
gave
of
us
a problem
options.
that
The funny thing about
It's big lies.
the funny thing about
is it much of a problem that people are voting more than once?
No,
I feel like
only
it is.
Probably not.
they've only found a few Republicans doing that. Amazingly enough.
What do other people think?
I don't think it was as widespread as Trump made it seem. I don't
Not
think
at
it was.
all.
Yeah.
We have a re-election thing going here in town right now that President Trump's involved in, so I don't get the point of it anymore.
Still?
I feel like there's a lack of integrity in the whole process, just because there's no accountability to it. Like, why can he make claims that 20 people have voted or that dead people have voted? Like, why isn't there just a simple accountability? Yep, I voted. Check the box. Like,
Because in politics, you can lie.
I guess.
So Trinity
It's
is
true.
making a good point. If we had more integrity in our elections or just a secure system. And Janine is arguing that we do actually have a pretty secure system, and it depends on the place. But if we have a secure election system, that will help produce more civility because we won't be fighting over whether somebody voted 20 times or not.
We have a recount going on right now.
Fourth.
And what's that experience, Crystal, tell you about this issue?
It's really frustrating because I think some of the people that originally wanted this recount are now suing to stop the recount because they want to do it. They want to do it themselves, and in that
Ridiculous.
Trump got involved as of yesterday. So of course everything changes. So now the recount's on hold for whatever reason.
You never heard about all this 20 years ago. Never noticed.
Say that again, Donna.
You never heard about this. You never heard about this 25 years ago. Did you notice?
No,
it's all now.
That's because there wasn't anybody setting you up for what he wanted to get away with.
I mean, Trump just can't. He just can't accept the loss, and so here we go again, spending all our money on these recounts and people's time. It's just, and then now they're fighting over. Oh, the camera's not in view of this counting machine and this counting machine. It's just stupid stuff. It's just a waste of time, in my opinion.
So Donna, the fact that we didn't have these fights 20 years ago and now we do, what does that tell you about what change we could make to get more civility in our system? We weren't fighting on recounts and cameras and all this stuff 20 years ago.
I think there's too many people out there today that's just feels that it's okay to lie.
Okay.
And,
yeah, they're out there muddying the waters, and so there's
Yeah.
question where there shouldn't even be any.
When I was a kid, you voted for president, and it came on that night who the president was. There was no ands, ifs, or buts of you lost, I won, blah, blah, blah. It was a done deal. And now, Trump's mad because he didn't win. So he wants all these recounts and this and that. And people lie because they want it their way. So they try to sneak more votes in. I mean, it's just.
There wasn't anything done. Our national security said that was one of the most secure elections we ever had. Our own national security with Republicans and Democrats in there. And so, it's your choice if you want to believe it's not.
And so do you think this is unique to Trump, or do you think this is part of politics to stay for a while if we don't do something?
I think it's a part of politics in general. I think it's just somebody.
It's okay to lie.
I think it was COVID too. I think it was really fueled by the different way we voted, mailing everything in. I think that it definitely added to that.
I think it was Trump being a sore loser.
Yeah, me too.
What about party leaders holding members of their party more accountable? Would that help?
Yes, and term limits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't get fired by speaking the truth and saying that this big lie is actually the big lies on the other side, on Trump's side.
Yeah.
He's putting it out there.
Melissa, what do you think?
About
Party leaders holding party members more accountable.
Oh, yes, definitely. I think that would change the way that they act. They'd be more civil, I think, that they would, because they have to account for themselves to someone else.
Yeah, when you have three to whatever many that are against you and you are standing up for the truth and these other ones are just standing up for power, what do? How do you make that stop?
Okay.
You have to, I guess, voting, but we have to wait till then.
Betsy, what do you think?
It's a good idea, but I think we just should be accountable to ourselves. And why do we need anyone else looking us over? I mean, we're adults. Let's, just.
Not everyone acts like adults.
Well, yeah, that's the problem.
Well, how many people say we as individuals, each individual American has a major role here? If we're going, you make an interesting point, Betsy. How many of us say we as individuals, as Americans, have a big role to play here if we really want to reestablish civility in our country?
Yeah, obviously.
Most of us, okay. And what would that be like?
Yes.
What can bring people more together? What could we as individuals do in our communities and in our families?
I think,
to
you
help
know, we
with
don't
it.
talk about the religious leaders, and we don't respect any of that at all anymore in our country. And I'm not a religious person, but it does bring people kind of roundabout sometimes and back to the roots, what they believe in, what they were taught, black and white, right and wrong. And that's the basic, you know, the Constitution. I don't know if we could just revert back to maybe a little bit more of our religious spiritual leaders example and the respect and reverence to them. Just
And also just having the people that are in leadership positions being good role models, you know, being good stewards of what their position is.
Yeah, like what they agreed to when they signed up for it.
Exactly.
What about, you say religion, what about the golden rule? What if we said we need to re-invoke the golden rule?
That's what I was going to say, that if we treated each other with respect, you know, it starts with one person. You know, you can't just demand respect from others if you're not respecting people. I mean, it all comes down to respect and, you know, consideration, compassion. I mean, I think it's really important, and I think it starts with each one of us individually.
But I like my neighbors, but my neighbors act way better than the politicians on TV. So like, where's the problem with that transition? Because I like my neighbors.
I don't necessarily like all my neighbors, so you know, but I do treat them with respect, you know, basic respect.
Okay. Let me suggest. Let me read you some suggestions that some other groups have come up with, and tell me what you think in terms of our individual role here. So some people have said, as individuals, we need to think before we act, respond, share a post, or retweet something. So we should really stop and think before we react, before we act, respond, share a post, or retweet. Does that seem like an important thing to do, or not really making much difference?
That's what I said about Trump should have done. He should have thought about what he said before he said it.
Oh, he did.
What I say is send it to yourself first, read it, and then if it makes sense, then send it again.
Okay.
Yeah, if you repost it, it should be in your own words.
Okay. Oh, great point, Tina. Let me ask you this one. Change the channels once in a while. So get out of echo chambers that push us further apart. Come together as fellow citizens. What about that? Change the channels. Go listen to another person's point of view. Get out of our own echo chambers.
Yeah, and also turn the TV off, you know, get out in the world and see it for how it really is.
Ah, okay, so turn the TV off because we can only expect so much of media. What else?
That's what I do. Turn the TV off because I don't know.
I turned it to hoarders. The TV off. That's one of the things I've been doing to get away from this incivility. I turn the TV off.
And then when I go to visit family and they discuss politics, I'm like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Discourage our family from discussing politics.
Yep, I'm out of here.
Oh, what's really bad is when you go to your family or you go to your husband's family and you're the only one who voted for Biden, and then they're going, well, I didn't vote for him, and they look at you and I'm going, oh.
Okay.
You feel like you're in it then, buddy.
As we step back here, why is civility important, and how important is it really? I mean, we're facing a lot in our country right now. Improving civility, honestly, we've talked about it for 2 hours, but how important is it really? Is it really that important, or is it super important?
I think
it's very important.
It's very important, super important.
Why is it very important?
We need this now more than ever.
Why?
Just because we're just going in and down. We're all confused as to where we should be and what's going to happen in the future.
We used to be able to say what we felt, and then that was okay. That's how you feel, okay, and go on. Now you can't. Now it's like it's a big fight. If you don't vote this way or you don't believe this way, it's like, why do I have to? I see some on both sides usually.
You can't express your own opinion without a huge fight about it. So
and it shouldn't be that way. It never used to be. It used to be just you had your differences, but you didn't, disown somebody for it.
It makes for a bad dinner conversation.
I do think that some of it comes down to opinion or morals.
Why do you think this is important? Why is this important?
I think that it's Let me stop. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Ashley, and then Jenny.
For me, I feel like it's more about your morals than it is like your opinion. Like I've had a friend falling out recently because somebody just had terrible morals. So it wasn't necessarily like, oh, you're not allowed to have an opinion. There's just certain things that are just like, whoa, like, I mean, you have to put the line somewhere on what morals you want to, associate with and kind of surround yourself with. And I feel like there should be basic morals in politics, in the world. I mean, if we're going to come together here, everyone should have at least somewhat similar morals.
Some people don't have a moral compass, I don't think. Trump didn't.
Jenny, what do you think?
I think you check yourself and you, I don't know. I think you should follow how you feel, and you live the way you should live, your truth, live the way you should be living. And hopefully you'll surround yourself with people who do the same, and just try to make the world a better place. I mean, that sounds so cliche, but it's kind of how I feel.
And why is civility important to that process? Because surrounding yourself with people who live your truth, that could be very divisive.
It could be,
too.
it could be, but I just respecting others' opinions, listening to other people. You don't have to agree,
Right.
but always willing to learn, always willing to educate yourself. And also being somewhat outspoken, and it's okay to tell other people how you feel, not being afraid to tell people how you feel.
Okay. Tina, why does civility important? Why does getting more civil, why is it important right now? Or maybe to your 10,000 women, it's not that important right now.
I think everybody should be civil to each other, and it would make the world a better place if everybody treated each other with respect and not hate. And during the whole quarantine process, my husband got so many hate remarks because of the way he thought about like the mask and stuff, because we're for it and other people aren't. And people shouldn't treat each other like that, talk badly, and threaten to hurt his life and stuff. So
wow.
Yeah, it was a tough thing to go through.
That's crazy.
Let me ask you this. Actually, Tina, your comment reminds me of something. Historically, when we have faced major crises like 9/11 and other times, World War II, it brought America together. Now we have these overlapping crises. We've been through really, really tough times, but we don't seem to be coming together. And some people have argued that one of the reasons civility is important is we are coming out of such a time of overlapping crises that we need to come together if we're going to emerge from these challenges stronger. What do you think about that? That historically we've come together in crises. In some sense, the overlapping crises that we haven't brought us together this time. And if we're going to emerge from them stronger, we need to come together. We need to be more united. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we have to have people that aren't going to divide us more, like we have been for the last 4 years.
It starts with administration. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, your leaders can't be lying to you, and get away with it. They have to have accountability.
I agree. I think it's been harder too, because stay 6 feet away, but then come together. It's been hard. It's really different.
You can agree on things without having to, be in someone's face.
Yeah, that's true. But I do feel like people rely a lot on having the support and being able to come together. In Minnesota, especially, we're Minnesota nice. Everybody is so awkward here now because you're not. And it's really Minnesota passive aggressive, to be honest. But it's been hard.
Yeah, it's been hard. But are we also entitled that we can't be courteous and try to be safe for others and ourselves? I mean, really, that's how I get people. It's like you're too entitled to even think about caring about someone else getting sick.
Some people have said that, and we talked about this a little bit before, but I want to understand how it rates compared to other things we've been talking about. Some people have said one of the reasons we've really got to come together right now is that there are things that we really need to make some changes in. We need to improve the affordability of our health care. We need to get our kids back safely to school, and we need to have good schools. We need a healthy environment. We need an economy that works for people, and that just plain is not going to happen if we don't come together. Is coming together and being more civil essential to getting things done, or not really?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Regina, I haven't heard from you why you think civility is so essential. Well, how would your 10,000 women articulate it? Why is it so essential?
Well, it's so essential because in order for anything to work, you have to be civil with each other. It's proven in everyday life. If you and your husband are not civil to each other, usually what happens is you yell and scream and you argue, fuss and fight, and then it ends in divorce, right? Not as extreme as violence, but it ends in divorce. And so when you're at work, you have to get along with your coworkers and you're civil to them, even if there's one that you don't like. You're civil to them because you need to be that way because you're in an environment where it could cause confrontation and conflict, and in those types of environments, it's not acceptable, and you are accountable for that, and someone's going to come and ask you if you say something offensive or you're rude or you're impolite. What are you doing? You can't do this. As Americans, they remind me right now of spoiled brats, kind of like, I want my way, I want my way. So no, mine, the two little kids on the playground, mine. And if it's not, then I'm gonna just hit you with it and walk off with it. And it's kind of like when you say we come together, I'm not old enough to remember every single conflict we'd ever had. But a lot of times when we all come together, it's because like 9/11, there was an outside force that came and did something to us. So it's that kind of, I can beat my sister up, but you can't. So we can fight with each other as Americans, and we can call each other names, and we can commit violence against each other, and we can kill each other, but you can't. It's kind of like it's the same thing, when they talk about Black on Black crime, there's so many that are killing each other. And it's happening everywhere, but then it's not okay for the police to kill you, it's not okay for anybody to kill you, period. But it's like that kind of mentality to me. It's like a big, huge family where we have a big, huge fight, and now we're separated. Now, my aunt over here is talking about the aunt over there and comparing their kids to their kids. And it's like we're little kids bickering with each other instead of coming together and just talking like decent people at the dinner table. And okay, I can see your point, but you think this might also work if we, could incorporate this? Or I can respect that you want to have the statue outside, but I really don't like it. So, I might want to walk around it or not look at it, or I'm not going to honor it like you do. You can have it there, but that's just a piece of stone to me. And I can just say, okay, I get it.
Last thing we're going to do is write in the chat, in your own words, what you think is the best argument for why we should make more civil American politics. Why do we need to make American politics more civil? What's the best argument you think for that? Write in the chat, send it to me, and then thank you so much. You've been a wonderful group. When you're done, you can sign off, and there'll be a more tangible thank you for your time. You'll remember that you all signed a release form that we could share the videos, and so just wanted to remind you that may happen. Of course, you're anonymous in that process, and thank you so much. You've been great. You've been really thoughtful, and really, really appreciate all of your input and good thinking here. So each of you type in the answer to what is the best argument for why we should make more civil American politics. Send it to me. And you can sign off when you're done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye all.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
It's been fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
No problem, Jenny. Take as long as you need. Thank you. Thank you for your thoughtfulness.
No, I just didn't spell something right, but I can't correct it. Okay,
Oh,
thank
don't
you.
worry. Don't worry
Thank
at all.
you.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your good thoughts.